the most published author on mobile in the world. He is a former Nokia executive. He's Forbes #1 ranked influencer on mobile, and it's really a gift and a pleasure to have him here with us. So thank you, Tomi.
Thank you. Third time's the charm. We tried before, but I live in Hong Kong, and we tried to somehow arrange that I might have some business trip that could get me near you, and then I could come over. And both times previously, suddenly there was a crazy customer who needed me on the other side of the planet. Just wrong priorities. Now, the hat, what's with the hat? Tomi's the crazy guy in the hat. Those of you who've seen my pictures and seen my videos know, that, okay, that's his trademark. The rest of you, yeah, now you've seen me, okay? I don't speak with the hat on, but you've seen. It's the easy way to find me, that on the breaks, I'll be here today and tomorrow. So come find Tomi with the hat and let's talk about mobile. Now, if you're not sure about my sense of humor, that was intended as a joke. Whatever, if there at some point you were not sure, can Tomi really be serious or is he really that weird? It was a joke. Okay, so let me start with a confession. I have been impersonating Lucifer several times. I am sorry. I really am sorry. In my day job, normally when I talk to my clients, then some of them are telecoms people. They understand mobile, like you do. We're all mobilistas. But about half of my customers don't understand mobile. So there's someone like an internet company like a Google, or there may be a broadcaster like the BBC, or maybe they're a bank like the Bank of America, maybe they're an advertising agency like Ogilvy. These kind of companies, when I come there, I often start my presentation and tell them, beware, I am evil. I am going to corrupt you. I am going to ruin your life. I am the devil. I will poison your mind, and I am the Antichrist, because I am the mobile guy who will ruin the rest of this conference. Because typically at those conferences, there's someone who's talking about, Internet of Things. Which is going to be, relatively important. Or about, cloud computing, which, for the computing people, it's going to be somewhat important. Or, other kind of, little technical things. Someone put some drones up in the air, and, someone wants to do some 3D printing. And then in comes Tomi Ahonen and says, oh, by the way, this is the fastest growing business that the planet has ever seen. And we're going to start. We're the only technology that reaches every pocket on the planet of every economically viable person. We are the only technology that reaches every person who is literate, and about a third of the illiterates. We're the only technology like this, and we're only 30 years old. So that's, to them I say, I am the Antichrist, I'm going to pollute you. Coming here today, this is one of my very rare opportunities to speak to a group. I don't need to convert you. I don't need to do any of that. No evangelizing. I don't need to convince you that, hey, mobile is going to be big and you guys should get involved in mobile and please be interested in mobile and it can help you. You guys all know that. So, honestly, my purpose today is try to help you a little bit with a couple of the things that I have recent numbers, recent case studies, recent ideas. There were a few things that came in preparing for this that some of you requested. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Nokia's return. I'm going to talk a little bit about text messaging and what SMS is and what it can do still, and is it dead or is it not, and so forth. I'm also going to talk a little bit about augmented reality, which isn't seen here. That's going to be in tomorrow's part. So that's in part 2. I'm also going to have, if any of you have seen any of my presentations, read any of my books, know that I always have tons of statistics. We're going to look a little bit about the statistics of this industry, and I always talk about end users and customers. That part comes tomorrow. So we split this into 2 parts. I'm going to run through these slides rather fast. You're going to get all these slides. Don't worry, take notes, but you will get the full slides. You will have full rights to use them however you want. There will be an extra bonus. You will also get my last year's edition of my almanac. So I publish a statistical almanac, 200 pages, 100 statistics for the industry every year. Sell it for, $13, 10 euros. You're going to get last year's edition for free. All of you will get it for just being here. And so the trick is, most of the numbers in that almanac are trend series numbers. If you look at what was the current number in last year's almanac and look how much did it change from the year before, add that number to the number, you are almost exactly at today's number. Rather than go and buy that report for $1,000 from Gartner, use my almanac and you will get almost exactly the right number anyway. So in that way, you don't need to worry about trying to remember every one of the numbers I'm going to show you, because you're going to get the full almanac also. So we're going to make that available for all of you. Now, let's get to the topic. Let's start with the numbers. We know these big numbers. We know mobile is now, there are more mobile subscriptions than there are humans on the planet. No surprise, you guys know this. Let's look a little bit at the rivals. Landline business is 140 years old. It is worth $350 billion, the orange line, worldwide. Radio is a 100-year-old industry. It is worth about $100 billion. Television, 70 years old industry, worth about $450 billion. Did you see the news from TV? Adidas. First major brand, just announced last week. They will stop advertising on television because young people are spending so much time on smartphones that it no longer makes sense for them to advertise on TV. If you thought the TV industry was in shock before, they've been mostly oblivious to the digital disruption. They kept growing while the internet came. They kept growing while even Facebook, but now suddenly, oops, and now they notice that only old people are watching their shows, nobody's watching anything live except for sports, and all at once they have to start firing people, and their advertisers are vanishing and so forth. But anyway, let's get back to the numbers. The personal computer industry, 40 years old industry, worth about $350 billion, and then there's the internet, 25 years old, worth $200 billion. When you add these together, $1.4 trillion, 1.45, $1,450 billion worldwide. These 5 industries combined. How about mobile? We win! Mobile alone is bigger than television, than computers, than internet, than radio combined. In less than 4 decades. That's our industry. Literally, the fastest growing giant industry the planet has ever seen. The fastest growing industry the planet has ever seen. Growing at a faster rate than any rival giant industry today. They're not catching us, we're pulling away. The richest company the planet has ever seen was on the brink of bankruptcy when it was doing its original business selling computers. A nonsense California company called Apple, which dropped computer from its name, now calls itself a mobile company. It's the richest company the planet has ever seen. The first time ever the richest man on the planet came from the emerging world, not from the rich world, was Carlos Slim, a mobilista from Mexico, and the only time he lost his title as the richest man on the planet was back when Bill Gates decided that, okay, I'm going to get serious with mobile. And Microsoft came back seriously to mobile. The second most profitable company on the planet, Google. Google says the future of the internet is mobile, and they're mobile. So, yes, this is the right business, this is the right industry. This will be much more relevant 10 years from now than it is today. All of your effort that you're doing now, you need to double it. It needs to be much more. And where you are making priorities, you have to make sure that your team is prioritizing mobile higher than they had in the previous plan. The people that you have, you need to build their skills in mobile even more than you had. Chetan Sharma, our favorite forecaster. Any of you who are in America, you have to follow Chetan Sharma. He has a wonderful quarterly analysis of the US mobile market space, one of the most accurate forecasters of the industries in Seattle. But Chetan said, just 3 years ago, that the golden age of mobile is only starting. We set the record for the fastest growing industry ever, giant industry, and he says, no, that was us pretending, practicing. Now we're getting serious. So, did I go wrong direction? So, but now the stuff that I usually don't talk about. This will be in the almanac, but I want to highlight these. Some of you work in the rich world. Congratulations. Your life is relatively easy. Most of the numbers you find will be, anyone else who publishes numbers for the industry, they will usually be very well aligned with Britain or with Holland or with America or Canada or Indonesia, I'm sorry, not Indonesia, Singapore, etc., Japan and so forth. But if you work in the emerging world, if you work in Africa, if you work in Indonesia, if you work in China or in Brazil or the emerging world in general, then you want to understand these numbers. Please feel free to take pictures, by the way. Yes, I totally don't mind if you want to take pictures, but you will get these slides anyway. So emerging world numbers. I want to highlight a few. First of all, notice here, these are contrasting the general industry numbers, how we are with things like computers versus mobile phones versus bank accounts, things like that. But this gets more interesting when we're looking at handsets. And let me highlight a few for you. Oops, sorry. Unique subscribers. In the rich world, 92% unique subscriber mobile penetration. Except for kids and a few retired people, everyone in the rich world has a mobile phone. That is not true in the emerging world. Only 66% of the population in the emerging world has some type of mobile phone by unique users, so excluding the people who have two phones or two accounts. But then look at this. Only 2/3 of them can do reasonable internet data speeds. Try to run Facebook or YouTube or something on GPRS. Good luck. Look at this. Only 29% of the population and 43% of the mobile phones with that population are smartphones. This is the situation today. The majority of the phones in the emerging world are still dumb phones. Don't do an app for them yet. A few countries are ahead. South Africa, Colombia, Malaysia, but China. But in general, that's the average. Emerging world. Only 43% of the actual phones in use. But check out this number. 20% of all mobile phones in use in the emerging world were not bought as a new phone. They are second-hand phones. Mostly Nokias, Samsungs. Second-hand phones. Very long lifespans of old phones with yet another new battery inside and so forth. If you are in the emerging world, this is the reality you have to live with. This is the part you have to understand. And very few analysts break out the numbers separate from this. Don't live in that fantasy world of lovely American analysts talking about how wonderful things are in Silicon Valley. Understand that if you are really doing missionary work in the emerging world, then this is your reality. So there's a whole chapter on that you'll see in the almanac. Okay, I've been talking about the $10 iPhone. A few of you know this theory. For most of you, this sounds bizarre and you don't know. I need to explain briefly what my forecast was so you don't misunderstand. I never said that Apple, the company, would sell an iPhone for $10. But I said back in 2010, as a mental exercise, applying a computer industry law called Moore's Law, I said, well, if we apply Moore's Law, we can take today's most expensive mobile phone on the market, such as the iPhone, what was the iPhone 4? The iPhone 4 in 2010, or the equivalent Samsung Galaxy or Nokia or whatever, BlackBerry at the time, in 2010, we can take the iPhone that cost $600 and we can apply Moore's Law for 10 years, then someone in China should be able to make a cheap Android phone with the exact specifications. Same screen size, same camera, same wireless capability, GPS, that technology, and sell it for $10 in 2020, including profit. That is an interesting thought process. So the nice thing is Moore's Law gives us also a calendar. Every 18 months, we can review this theory. Did it hold true? That means that where are we? In the summer of 2000, in the winter of 2011, we should be able to find an iPhone 4 equivalent phone by some Chinese maker that costs $300. And then 18 months later for 150, 75, and when I last made this analysis, last year summer, was the next milepost. I need to find a phone that has 3G, Wi-Fi, GPS, a 5-megapixel camera, and a flash on a 3.5-inch touchscreen screen, and it needs to cost, new, without contract, $38. If I'm able to find this phone, the theory holds true, and we are headed to a $10 iPhone equivalent by the end of this decade. And look what I found. In India, there is a MicroKey E9, which has a 5-inch touchscreen screen, 3G, Wi-Fi, GPS, 5-megapixel camera, and an LED flash. June 2016, it cost 2,443 India rupee, which is $36. We are still on path. It gets tighter the closer we get, because now components that are not relevant to Moore's law are matter, like the packaging. The battery life is not increasing at Moore's law. So at some point, I think this breaks, that my theory cannot hold all the way to 2020, that it might be that the final 2020 price might be $16 or $19, or it might take until 2022 that we get to the $10 iPhone equivalent. But all of you working in the emerging world, I'll get you, all of you working in the emerging world, think about this. So far, Tomi's forecast from 2010, that year 2020, they will be selling new smartphones that cost $10, that will match an iPhone 4, which was a super phone in 2010. Still holds true. And now the likelihood of us being off is at most 20%. Maybe a little bit off in the timing, maybe a little bit off in the exact price. Now, a few countries will have tax reasons why their phones will be different from the absolute best price. But this is an amazing issue for us. It means that in the long run, there will be no more traditional feature phones sold. Because if the smartphone can be brought to roughly this price, $10, then there's no margin to try to sell a dumb phone for $7. That eventually that market opportunity vanishes. Yes, there was a question in the back. This is Android. Yes. And I keep tracking this, so the next time comes up, I need to check this now at Christmas. So every 18 months, and I publish my update on my blog on do I find it or not. Yes, you have a question.
Any idea what used iPhone 4s sell for in 2016?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Any idea what used iPhone 4s sold for in 2016?
Good question. I haven't thought and I haven't tried to discover, but iPhones have the best resale value by far. They have a very long shelf life. They get handed out. People keep using them, etc. So I would guess it's an iPhone 4 would probably get you more than 38. I would guess it'll be above this. I would guess, but I don't know. I should actually look. It would be an interesting issue. Yes?
I had a friend who bought an iPhone 4S in Cambodia last year, 2016, for $40 US.
Okay, so close. So it's almost, yes, very good, very good. Thanks. There's your exact answer. So even better. So I mean, yes. So it's there. Yes. But interesting that the used price would also map this same trajectory. Okay. So on Nokia return, we know what happened to. Some of you know. Some of you don't know what happened to Nokia. Nokia's collapse, year 2011, is the fastest fall of any company in any industry in the modern business era. That companies have been measured in the time of modern business. Never before has a company that has been number one in its market lost half of its market in 1 year, lost another half of the remaining market in the second year, and become the size of 1/10 in market share of what it was 3 years ago. Never, no business, when Exxon Valdez ran its oil tanker on the ground, or when Mercedes-Benz decided to run that A-series car that doesn't know how to turn and it fell over when it went into the corner, when Coca-Cola introduced new Coke, no business has ever suffered as dramatic loss as Nokia did. So, Nokia's fall went from 39% market share in smartphones in 2009 to 3% market share in 2013. Now, very many very clever tech analysts say that Nokia was killed by Apple. Now, who knows why Nokia died? But those of us, thank you, yes, Elop knows definitely well. But if we take purely from a mathematical point of view, then we should find an inverse relation between one company succeeding and the other company failing, if there is a relation. Even though correlation does not automatically mean causation, you cannot have causation without correlation. That we know for a fact. So what happened with Apple? Apple was at 15% in 2019, and Apple was at 15% in 2013. Apple is at 15% today. Now, this means that absolutely for a fact, the one company that had nothing to do with Nokia's fall is the red line. So any analyst who gives you that bullshit telling you that, oh, Nokia died because of Apple, stop reading further that article. I mean, the guy doesn't fail math. Now, this is the issue that should maybe get people's attention. Samsung was at 4% in 2009. Samsung hits 31% in 2013. It is not perfect correlation, but it is as close as you can. The last few percent went to Huawei and ZTE and a couple of other Chinese. If you want to argue who killed Nokia or who picked up the pieces when Nokia fell, we can argue one way or other what happened, then that is Samsung. So this is the relevant issue we need to consider. Who are the real competitors? Apple sells a Porsche. Apple sells to rich people really cool, really lovely products that everyone falls in love with and will never quit. And they do it their own quirky way. And they have their own silly operating system that nobody else works with. And every so often they have to change things and make you buy new kind of earphones and things don't plug to each other. Yeah, that's Apple's way. They make a lot of money out of their rich customers who love them dearly. And they're the most profitable company that ever was. And God bless them, they're doing very well that business. But if we're looking at the mass market of mobile phones, then it is the race of Samsung took Nokia's cake and ate it. They are the undisputed king today, and they sell everywhere at every price point. They know how to do mass market marketing, and they know how to satisfy a vast number of customers in every single price point, including Samsung still sells dumb phones today, feature phones. Can Nokia come back? That is a very, very interesting thing to consider. And that brings us to this. Nokia just announced now 3 new smartphones, which are mid-price smartphones, Nokia 3, Nokia 5, Nokia 6. Android phones, very nice, they will sell well. This phone explains why Nokia is dangerous. Some of us like nostalgia. Some of us like the Mini car or the Volkswagen Beetle car, and we love the new Beetle, and it's so lovely nostalgia. And some of us in the rich world, we remember fondly our phone that we could feed it to the dog, and, you know, a week later the dog poops the phone and it still works. You could use it as a hammer and drive a nail with a Nokia. The battery lasted a week, and it was just absolutely the most easiest, wonderful thing. Plus it had that wonderful snake game and the Nokia ringing tone. We loved it. Okay, fine. There may be... Yeah, exactly. There may be a market. There may be a market for a nostalgia phone. There may be. And Nokia may, the new Nokia company, HMD, may want to pursue that market. I would argue that a nostalgia market in the rich world will be modest. Now consider the new 3310. It was built to be a hit phone in the emerging world. Why do we know this? There is no 3G. You can't use it in Australia. You can't use it in Japan. You can't use it in Japan. Singapore will just shut its 3G network next. Several of the European countries are already turning off their 2G networks. So even if the idea was to make a nostalgia phone for rich people, then come on, add the 3G network on it so that at least we can sell it in our country. No, this is a 2G only phone. There's no 3G on it. It's not a touchscreen phone. It has a large enough screen that could be a touchscreen phone. It costs about $45. There are smartphones that cost $35 that have a larger screen on Android and a touchscreen. What is the thing about this phone? This phone was designed to appeal to people who are afraid of touchscreen phones, who are illiterate, who don't have the chance to look at the phone while they are doing their work, such as driving a taxi or driving a rickshaw, who need to operate the phone by hand, by muscle memory, and don't have time to try to type out the mistakes typed on a touchscreen. Some of us hate and fear touchscreen phones. Some of us don't want to learn or take the trouble, and for some of us, it is just an inconvenience factor. But nobody was giving a phone to those people that was modern, that has a good camera, that has a large screen. The only phones they could get were really, really rubbish, really, really small, really, really cheap, $10, $15 phones. Nobody was addressing this market. Then there is a huge amount of Nokia loyal customers who actually use phones like this and its siblings. Taped together, the battery cover is already lost. It has its fifth battery. Screen has it's already partly broken, but just loves the phone. Tried something else. You try to give them a birthday gift or Christmas gift, a new phone. They won't take it. They go back to the old Nokia. Those customers will love this. So this phone is not meant for rich people. This phone is meant to take a slice in the middle between smartphone owners and very low-cost dumb phone owners. And in that middle, what is the trick? The trick is the large screen and the great camera, because this phone did not have a camera. Ask most of the customers who actually have something like this, and they will say, I don't need the camera. I don't know, it's a stupid thing that people are taking these selfies of themselves, and it's just such a waste, and who needs a camera anyway? Cameras are total waste. We get them hooked because the moment they have the camera, and then their grandchild comes over, and they take the one picture, and all at once they show it to their sister, and, oh, do you have more pictures? That gets the addiction. Now this customer falls in love with the camera side of this phone, and then falls in love with the screen. The next phone for this person will be a Nokia Android smartphone. That is sneaky. That is brilliant. That is understanding consumer behavior and what Nokia customers are and where they are. When Nokia fell in 2011, when we go back to year 2010, the last year before Nokia fell, Nokia had about 35% market share in smartphones. It had about 45% market share in dumb phones. Nokia's market share in the rich world was about 25% in smartphones, but was 60% in the emerging world. 70% in India, 70% in China, 70% in Nigeria, almost 80% in Nigeria. Nokia understands, this new Nokia, comeback Nokia, understands that they don't care if they succeed in America, they don't care if they succeed in Britain. They want to recapture Nigeria, Pakistan, Egypt, India, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Brazil, take those markets back and they will become a major player again. And then the question comes, then the one guy, the people who are crying about this new Nokia coming back, it's this guy. Because they don't worry about LG. They recognize that Huawei and ZTE are money competitors, tough competitors. They don't worry about Sony. They don't worry about those competitors. This is the one that they lose sleep over. If this guy gets his act together, then that's going to be a big race. But we have to see how it goes. But monitor that space and understand that they are focusing for winning the race in the emerging world. That's why Nokia, the three smartphones, Nokia 3, Nokia 5, and Nokia 6, they are all priced in exact middle of smartphone prices. Up around $200, $300 price. That's exactly where mid-price smartphones are. They're not competing against the Samsung Galaxy or the iPhone. They want to hit the middle of the market where they get high volume. Okay, I'm starting to run out of time. I had other things I wanted to talk about. SMS. Oh, my favorite. Text messaging has died. Obviously it has. I mean, all the numbers show this. This is from my almanac. That's my numbers. Person-to-person messaging, OTT like WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and so forth, they've taken all the traffic. This is totally true. This number, I'm not kidding you, this is reality of the messaging traffic. But it's not the whole truth. If we look at these exact numbers without looking at the percentage of the traffic, but look at the absolute volume of traffic, the picture looks like this. Actually, no decline at all. Text messaging has stopped growing, but it's still flat. It grew most of this time. It's doing very well. The red guys took all of their growth. They stole their candy. But text messaging isn't dying. Understand that misunderstanding that comes from many tech writers who are loving WhatsApp and loving iMessenger and loving Facebook Messenger and so forth. They are misunderstanding this picture. SMS text messaging reaches 6 billion active users. 6 billion active users. 3 Facebooks. 2 emails. There's nothing anywhere near the reach of SMS. It never has been on the planet. And it's not dying. It has stopped growing. Why did SMS stop growing? Because we reached the limit of literacy. Every single literate person over the age of 9, map that out, that is the active user base of SMS. Out of people who are heavily addicted to WhatsApp, 97% of them still use text messaging occasionally. When your email server tells you, oh, you're traveling in Holland, we notice that there's something strange happening with your email, we're blocking you out. Give us your mobile phone number and we'll unlock you. They're sending you an SMS with a code. You have no problem using that. So SMS has a huge growth potential, huge use potential because it reaches every pocket of every literate person. So, look at this. I'm very bad at drawing. Sorry, these look like UFO men. My shoulders came weird. Or maybe they're bishops. I don't know, bishop hats. But this would be the reach of WhatsApp and OTT messengers combined, the green guys. That leaves this many white guys who are not connected at all, compared to text messaging. Active users. There's no competition here. 10 years from now, there can be competition. Today, there's no competition. It is for heavy users, of course. And if you are using multiple ways to communicate with your flock, then please use the cheapest, lowest cost messaging platform you can use them. But don't forget these other guys. All these. You can't reach them with OTT, but you can always reach them with SMS. And then what can we do with them? Good example from the Country Music Festival. As an experiment, they offered their audience members the chance to vote for songs that they should play at the breaks. Send the DJ some music requests. 25% of the total audience send a message, either text message or Twitter. That's only mobile can do this. Only messaging. There's never been anything like this on the planet. Or how about this? Saving a government. Turkey's government. This is the opposite of the Arabic Spring, where text messaging tumbled governments. Erdogan used text messages to rise up his people to come and defend him. And only again, text message reaches every voter, reaches every person that in our constituency. Here, those of you who speak fluent Turkish, I put the actual text he sent for those of you in the audience. How about your tomatoes? Thirsty tomatoes? Your tomatoes can now send you text messages. I'm thirsty, give me water. How about banking? Russia? The largest mobile bankers, how do they connect? Text messaging, or those of you who know USSD. That's the next thing. How about this? Those of you, tax time, April 1, shouldn't all taxes be like this? Where you can do your taxes with one text message. Response, 5 seconds to fill out your tax form. Sweden, this is reality. This can be done. This is no rocket science. How about this? Using text messages to help students learn. I love this not only because this validates similar studies done elsewhere, that if you provide lessons to the people that you are teaching and they can practice through mobile, they learn better. So the first part is, students who used this system alone achieved a 5% improvement in their scores. Mathematics, languages, biology, whatever they were studying. But look what happens if the teacher gets involved. If the teacher uses this in class and teaches the students and takes it part of the curriculum, 11% improvement in the students' performance in the national exams. Every school should be doing this, of course, because every student has a mobile phone. They love the mobile phones. It's not that they hate education, they just don't want to get bad grades. And occasionally they'll do some of the practice. They know that I'm a little weak on math, let's do a couple of exercises while I'm waiting for the bus, whatever. How about this? Red Cross, Sweden. If you donate blood, in Sweden they will now send you a personalized text message when your blood was used in that operation to save that person in his... Isn't this like, that what a wonderful technology. And how much that is rewarding the people who honestly volunteered and helped. So that this is the kind of power that we can do. Now, if we think about super messaging, then that's not WhatsApp, and that's not iMessage or these. Super messaging is, I'm sorry about these letters, MMS. So this is what we can do next. Not in every market, not with every carrier, not in every case, but most cases. MMS has 4 billion active users. Twice the size of Facebook. 1.5 times bigger than the total internet is MMS active users. Look what they're doing. In Australia, you want to give a bottle of wine to your friend? You can give it onto their mobile phone. You're sending the gift to their mobile phone. They get a nice little picture of the wine with the label. They can say, oh, yes, nice little, Sunny Creek wine here, and I'll go get this red wine. Then you take it to the store, and you just offer the coupon to the shopkeeper who scans it on his scanner, and the bottle is free. So giving gift through mobile. How about this? My only religious example I have, and I'm sorry it's from the competitive religion, but I love this example. Lifebuoy is a soap brand in India. They figured out a way to promote soap use related to the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. India is mostly Hindu, but there's a large Muslim minority population. So during the month of Ramadan, there is this fasting period, which they call Iftar. What's it called? Where is it? Iftar. Iftar, yes. So Iftar, weird calendar things, is at a different time every day, depending on sunset, I guess. But anyway, there's an exact minute, exact hour when you are allowed to start to eat again. So they made a promotion, opt-in. Would you like to receive an alert every day, 10 minutes before Iftar starts? So you know exactly when it is today, and we will remind you on your phone. And in that advertisement, they promoted it to parents. Remind your kids to wash their hands before they eat, because there are so many illnesses that come from bad cleanliness. Not suggesting that the parents are dirty and you should wash yourself, but just remind your kids that your kids should wash their hands. Look what happened to sales. Jumped 15% during the campaign, and 6% net gain of soap sales after the campaign ran. So obviously, we can change behavior, we can remind people, we can use things like that. So, and then how about this? Mobile Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers having an opt-in program where they will help you stay on your program. They send you little pictures and videos and reminders and so forth. And again, helping people reduce weight or control their weight with the reminders through mobile. Now, last part, just a little bit on mobile. Whatever you do in mobile, try to make it magical. Mobile is a magical instrument. Like Ajit says, Ajit Jalkar, famous author in mobile, written several books, mobile is like the magic wand of the magician. We can have it do wonderful things for us, magical things. Let me show something. Airport check-in. Go to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Today, you cannot get on board the largest Asian discount airline. You can't get on board at their home hub talking to a person. There's no person anymore to serve you a boarding pass. Even though you've bought the ticket, no person will print a boarding pass for you. They've got machines there if you want to go and feed your information into the machine. If you've got internet at home, you can print it at your hotel. At the lobby will print you the paper version of it. But almost all, nearly 90%, over 85% of AirAsia's passengers, mobile phone. They receive the ticket and their boarding pass onto their mobile phone. That they show passport control, they show the security control, everything goes right all the way through. I was actually doing a count when I was flying on AirAsia. I was sitting at counting the two planes going before the plane I was going on, and I was counting just for fun. I like to count. So I got approximately 5% of the people who showed up had the paper printed version. And they were all white people, they were not Asian people. Then another maybe 10% had the little paper slip that came from the machine, and they were a mixture of Europeans and Asians. And then every single who looked clearly like a Malaysian, they all just showed their mobile phone and came in by that. So I mean, this is the obvious direction where we're going. But mobile is now, I mean, that taking out places like Adidas said on television, that we're not going to advertise on television again. Here's an airline saying, hey, we don't need people to handle these anymore. We can do this automatically. The passengers themselves can get themselves checked in. How about this? Most of you know the kind of thinking in schools where the teacher says you're not allowed to bring your mobile phone into class because you will try to cheat, because you will go to Facebook, because you will send messages to your friends. In Finland, we have gone so far that they've now started to do the national matriculation exam, where the students bring their laptops, their tablets, and their smartphones into the exam. All exams in Finland will be done this way by 2019. They just started the migration last year with a couple of pilot schools first and a couple of programs. Finland has the world's best education system. This is not like a rotten, very bad education country desperately trying to do something. These guys know something about education, and they feel that the future worker needs to know how to use Facebook, needs to know how to use Google, needs to know how to use modern digital tools, especially needs to know how to use a smartphone. Just like there was a time, I'm old enough to remember, when pocket calculators came into schools and principals were, oh, you're not allowed to use your pocket calculator in a math exam. And eventually math exams were changed, and of course every student has to have a pocket calculator. You can't even get through the exam if you don't know how to operate that machine. We're at that point in Finland now. Can you imagine what these kids will be like when they enter the workforce? If their curriculum was built in the way, not that phones are forbidden in class, but phones are necessary in class, that you cannot even manage to get through the class without them. So, I'm here to meet with you, You don't have to work for Ferrari for me to talk to you. I'm wearing my hat. I'm here to meet. I want to hear all of your stories. So please, the rest of today, this evening, tomorrow, come and talk to me. I want to know what you are doing and if there's something that I can help with you. We have a later session today where we're going to be taking some questions and answers so that anything that's on your mind, I am here to help you. So if you have a question, please, please, please ask me. I want to help you with that. How are we now with time? So our time went... We're dead, or we have still time now? We're dead. Okay, so dank je wel, as they say in the Netherlands. So thank you.